I could knit soap sacks for SAC, which collects, Hello crafters, welcome back to Little Mitch Stitches. My name is Stephanie and I am coming to you from a sunny Long Island, New York today. I am so glad to be back 2 weeks later after I filmed, although it's not been that long since I posted because it took me a long time to edit that first video. Thank you all for the love and the feedback on my first episode. Today is episode 2. I am back from a day at Vogue Knitting Live from yesterday, and I am so excited to tell you all about that later on. But first, let's jump into what I've been working on. I don't have any true finished objects to show you this week, so I'm going to share with you my boxy sweater. This is actually the V-neck boxy. I did also knit an original boxy, I guess we could call it, just the regular boxy sweater. It is designed by Joji Locatelli, and I love this sweater. I mentioned this last week. It is one of the projects that I was actually able to wear while I was pregnant because it is very giant, lots and lots of ease. My body is actually right here. So I knit this in, I think pretty sure it was 2018. And I knit it pretty quickly. I think that was when Jax was just a little infant, so I was spending a lot of time just sitting in a chair holding him as a baby. So I got a lot of work done on that pretty quickly. I'm fairly sure I finished it pretty quickly, unlike many of my projects. The yarn is Into the World Pakoku sock. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. And the color was Twilight. And I bought this yarn at Woolen, Brooklyn, which is where I used to work for a very short time when Rachel first opened the shop. It is a great little shop with lots of unique yarns that you're not going to find in most yarn shops. Rachel really curates what she brings into the shop, and we're going to show you some yarn from there a little bit later also. So that's the only truly finished object, although I didn't just finish it. I do have 2 things that are kind of done, just so I have something to show you. Well, I finished knitting my leg warmers for my adult ed class, but you can see I have an end, several ends, not woven in. So I finished the knitting, but they're not woven in and technically usable yet. But all I had to do on here was the cuff from last episode, and I did that actually just a few days ago because I was like, oh, I should get that thing done. So these are done, but I am not counting them as finished until those ends are woven in. And then I will see how much yarn I used, weigh them, and put them in my stash down sheet. And we'll talk about that later. The other sort of finished thing that I have is this little slipper. Someone in my adult ed group of knitters wanted to make booties. So I went online to try to find a free pattern, and I found this, and it's not the most well-written pattern. And I actually thought that was great for them to see because they use the patterns that I write in the class. I make up my own patterns for the class, and I'm very thorough. They're new knitters, so everything is written as if like to hold your hand through everything. But as many of us know, that's not what you find on the internet all the time. And I sent them a message after I knit the first one of these, and I said, you definitely get what you pay for with this free pattern. You don't get much. You don't get a lot of information. You have to figure it out a lot on your own. And it's not poorly written in that, but there's no gauge information given. We actually used smaller needles, and the pattern called for a size 10 needle with a worsted yarn. So that's pretty darn loose. Anyway, I knit this one up, and I think it is the cutest thing ever, and it doesn't fit my foot because there's only one size given. I wear a size 9. I actually have a wide foot also. So this one doesn't fit anyone that I know yet. I'll find someone. It's too big for my kids' feet, and it's too small for my feet. So what I did was I used this one. I wanted to finish it anyway, knowing it wasn't going to fit, because I wanted to use this to do calculations to rewrite the pattern for other sizes. So that's what I'm in the process of doing right now, so that everyone can have a wearable bootie. And I actually think they're really cute. I mean, I could get my foot into this. I could wear it. It's like, it's too small, so it'll pop off my foot. There's too much negative ease. But they're super cute, and I think they'd be cute with a little cuff, right? So that's the only things that I've kind of sort of finished this week. Okay, I don't think I have too much to show this week for works in progress. First I will show, since I was just talking about the slipper, The slipper, I forgot to mention, was made out of more of this Pound of Love from Lion brand. This yarn is like never ending. It's an everlasting gobstopper of yarn. So this is my next slipper that I am knitting in my size. So I'm almost done. I'm on the cuff. This went really fast, and it'll be done pretty quick, and then I can make sure it fits, and then I can knit the other one, and then I can do lots of math to calculate sizes for everyone in the class to make sure that they get a slipper or a bootie that fits. And I really want to make these for my kids. I got to downsize them too. Then the next thing that I have is my Advent socks that I'm knitting for my boys for Christmas. This is the sock that was, I think, almost done, or maybe it might not be much different from the last time. I've woven on all of the ends except for the last one because I have to crochet a little chain to make a loop. Let me grab one of the socks. To make a little loop to hang it with, and then the button will get sewn on. So this one is almost done. This one was cast on with just one round done the last time that I had an episode. And so it is up to the point where I have to put the heel in. So that one is almost done. I would really like to get at least one more done after this one this month. I've really gotta up the game here and get these things done. Otherwise I won't have 2 advent calendars by the time December comes. The yarn for my sock advent calendar is the 2019, I always forget this, it's a 2019 advent calendar set from Sleepy Fox Yarn Company. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the last episode, the white that I'm using is actually just the bare undyed yarn from Wool to Dye For. I think it's Platinum Sock is the name of the base, and I'm pretty sure that's the same base that is used for this advent set. Not sure, but it seems pretty similar to the yarn used by a lot of dyers. I thought I almost lost my needle there. I should move it up before it falls. Oh my gosh, I can't catch it. I have my needle on here ready to go so I don't lose it. And then the project that has really taken all of my attention this week is my half and half triangles wrap. And I just finished a row to make sure I wasn't in the middle of one this time. So it is getting quite large. And I have this many stitches left to go. So basically every row is a short row. So it's 1 stitch less every other row. And when I get to the end, I don't know what happens next. I'll read the pattern then. I didn't really look too far ahead on this one. I figured it's pretty basic. It's all garter stitch. There's nothing too crazy to know about. So I will wind up with a triangle in this I almost said this shape again. I did that last week. A triangle in this color, and then I will be doing a triangle on the opposite side to make it into a square in my contrast color. The yarn that I'm using for this right now, the black, is Canopy Fingering from the Fiber Company. It is a discontinued yarn. I've had it in my stash for a very long time. So yay, I'm getting a lot of yarn out of my stash with this project. The contrast color that I'll be using that I don't have on hand right now is Holiday Spirits, is the colorway, in Tralala Sock from Lamstrings Yarn. So even though I worked on this the most this week, I really don't have a lot to say about it. It's just garter back and forth. I've been working on it here and there, wherever I'm sitting around the house, or if we go out someplace while the boys, well, Jax is home doing some schoolwork. It's garter and short rows, and it's nothing too crazy. Oh, this is where I was at the last episode. So 2 weeks ago, I was down here. Now I've done all of this. So I will move my marker so I can see how far I've gotten by the next episode in 2 weeks. But yeah, I take this project with me out and about wherever we're going, so I have something to work on, but now it's getting a little too big. So I can't really walk around with it in my bag. I have it in this little old, very, very old Delaque bag that is the perfect size to just stick on my arm and walk around and pull yarn out as I'm knitting. So this is getting to be too small for this project. So that means it's getting too big to walk around with. And obviously, I mean, hello, I can't walk around knitting on this giant thing anymore. I did work on it yesterday while I was on the train going to and from Vogue Knitting Live, but not really while we were there at all. The other projects that I mentioned last week, I have not shown today because there has been no work done on them. So that would be my sister-in-law's blanket. I may have crocheted a few stitches here or there, but I didn't really touch it. And the other snowflake hat that I was knitting in the Long Island Yarn and Farm yarn, I haven't touched it. And all that needs to be done is close up the crown and weave in the ends. So that one will wait another week or two until I work on it, I guess. Or hopefully it'll be done by the next time, because I could really use some down stashing for my stash down, because, yeah, like I said, Vogue Knitting Live was yesterday. And speaking of Vogue Knitting Live being yesterday, let's just jump right into it. I was so excited to get to go to Vogue Knitting Live again. I haven't been since January of 2020. I didn't do any of the virtual ones. I just didn't have, I've never taken a class at Vogue. I always just go to the market. I've done some lectures that I got for free or reduced amounts, because for majority of the years of Vogue Knitting Live occurring in New York City, I worked as a volunteer at the event. So the first year I didn't know that was an option. So I started volunteering the second year, and then I stopped. The last year I volunteered was January of 2017, because I was pregnant with Jax, and we hadn't even announced that we were pregnant yet. But after that, I had Jax as a baby, and I just couldn't volunteer anymore. I couldn't give up that time or ask Kyle to take that time off of work to stay home with Jax, and now Jax and Benji. So the last year I went, I was pregnant with Benji still. Wow. That's so crazy. That was obviously right before the pandemic really hit the US. I mean, it was January and people were already talking about it then, but we weren't really doing anything about it yet. So I've gone every year. I was not missing it yet. I haven't missed a single in-person New York City one yet. I had to go. So I told Kyle way in advance. I said, you can't work this day. I'm going into the city. He actually did wind up working. What we wound up doing was he and I dropped the boys at my dad's house very early in the morning, around a little after 7. I guess we probably left the house around 7. And a mile from my dad's house is the train station. So then Kyle dropped me off at the train station, and I jumped on a train. From there, Kyle went to work for a little bit, and then he went and picked up the kids and whatever they did all day. Not my business. But anyway, I went to the train station, and I was knitting at the train station for a little while, waiting around. Nice to see that the train station was all pretty renovated, I guess. The waiting room area was very different from the last time I had been there. I'm guessing, I don't know when the last time I was there was. I used to commute out of that train station when I worked at Woolen in Brooklyn, but I live actually closer to another train station. I just don't go to it as much because you have to pay to park, and this train station you don't have to pay to park. I went to this train station this day because my friend Susie was coming on the train to meet me, and so she got on the train a few stops ahead of me, and then we met on the train, and I practically tackled her because I haven't seen her in 3 years. I haven't seen most of my knitting friends in 3 years at least. So it was great to see her, and it was so exciting to be going into the city. This is the first time I've gone into New York City other than driving through it since that last Vogue Knitting Live. So we got into the city. I wanted to make sure we'd get to Vogue right around opening time. So we actually got into the city about an hour before opening, knowing that we were going to be walking from Penn Station up to Times Square. So we walked actually a few blocks out of the way to go to Magnolia Bakery because she wanted to get some banana pudding. I've never had banana pudding. It doesn't sound very good to me. I have food texture issues. That does not interest me at all. But we made our way, checked our coats in, and then went up to the marketplace, and the doors had already opened, and it was surreal. Every year I've gone to Vogue, there was lines at the doors at the market opening, and there was like crickets when we got there. There was no line. Everyone was already in and shopping. It definitely was much more lightly attended than it had been previously. That could be due to several factors. Obviously, some people are still COVID cautious and not ready to attend events like this, and I get that. But Vogue also required a COVID vaccination card to attend, and we know how some people feel about that. Otherwise, I think you could do a negative test within a certain number of hours beforehand. So I think that probably kept some people away. Cost, obviously, is going to keep people away. I don't actually know how much the marketplace tickets were. I got a free ticket from Long Island Yarn and Farm for attending the 12 days of Zoom that she did. She had been given some codes to give out. So I had a free ticket to get in, and I can't remember what the cost is for the market. But I think part of the other thing was that they were doing timed entries on Saturday, not on Sunday, just because Sunday's always lightly attended on most events. But it was like you would get it was like $8 per hour or two session, something like that. I'm not really sure because I wasn't going Saturday, so I didn't really pay attention. They wound up removing that requirement, I think, as the New York City has eased their guidelines. So I think they were able to lift that. I don't know how that affected Saturday, though. I haven't spoken to any of my friends that went on Saturday. But otherwise, we walked around, and there was a lot less booths. The place is usually packed. You can usually barely walk around. There's usually booths everywhere, and there was just so much empty space. Like, I could have walked through with the stroller. And now that's good because there were people there in wheelchairs, and it's always difficult for people to get through with wheelchairs. But it also is showing that there is a lack of attendance this year. So while I'm happy that it was easier for people to navigate, we weren't bumping into each other as much. I mean, it still happens, but you know. So we walked around and we did do some shopping, of course. Not too much. I don't usually shop too much at these events. I actually think I shopped more this year than I usually do because the crowds and the chaos is just very overwhelming and overstimulating to me that I feel like I can't really fully absorb everything. I can't take my time and shop. I can't really look around. I feel rushed a lot of the time. I just kind of like to browse. And we did do a lot of that. We just kind of looped a couple of times before we even made a purchase. So the shopping is on 2 different floors. You would think by now, after all these years, I'd be able to keep it all straight, but I couldn't. I still forget what floor I'm on and how to get to the other floor. But that's all right. So we did loop around a lot and really think about what we were going to be getting. So yeah, it was just a different experience than the other years have been. A lot of vendors didn't come back that have always vended. For some people, it's just not monetarily feasible for them at the time. So people still didn't, they're not ready for the crowds. But we had a great time while we were there and looking around. So the first place that we stopped was Woolen because, like I said, I used to work there, so I have to go say hi to Rachel. I thought actually I was going to buy some sock yarn for Kyle there, and I wound up not because the yarn that Rachel had brought specifically that I was looking at didn't have nylon in it. And if you heard last episode, Kyle has a tendency to walk holes right into his socks weeks after getting a pair of socks. So I didn't buy him any there because the yarn didn't have nylon, and I need that little strand of nylon to hold those socks together when he doesn't notice there's a hole right away. So I actually wound up buying 2 things. I only have one to show you right now. I have this skein of Tesserae yarns, which is Woolen's new house yarn. And the base is called Chunky, and all of the bases and the yarn colors are cat inspired, which is great because when I was trying to take a video of this, it had cat hair on it already. I've had it here for not even 24 hours, but I got this cool magenta-y bright pink. I call it a hot pink. It's not hot pink, but it's a very magenta colored pink, and I think I'm going to make myself a cowl with it. I'm really excited to try this out. It is 50% alpaca and 50% wool, and my colorway is called Yeah No Yeah, which I love. So I also got a cookie while I was there because one of the women that works at Rachel's shop at Woolen is, I guess, a full-time baker as her main job. And these were beautiful and tasty cookies. Yes, so the cookie was delicious and beautiful. I'm a little sad I didn't get there an earlier day to see some of the other cookies, but it was really good. And it was a really cute alpaca or llama, I can't remember now. But the kids enjoyed eating it with their dinner last night, and I had some as well. The next purchase that we made, I don't think Susie made a purchase there actually, it was just me, I got these little Let me put them this way. These little llama keychains that I saw at Long Island Yarn and Farm. They are local to me, and I could have bought these online and just picked them up at her farm, but I wanted to be able to pick them out because it's just a big assortment. And so I got one for me and one for Jax and one for Benji. Benji has his right now. He just literally just took it away from me. I got a blue one with a rainbow for me and a black with a rainbow for Jax. Jax is obsessed with rainbows. And then I had to get Benji a rainbow one also because otherwise they'd fight, and no two were the same. So of course Jax's is broken already. The key ring is gone. And I also noticed that they have like little googly eyes. The little eyeball is broken and the little black speck from the eyeball is gone. So it is what it is. But we could have gotten these on porch pickup, but I wanted to be able to pick them out. Jax is obsessed with rainbows, so I thought that we had to get some rainbow ones. The next purchase I made was at United States of Fiber. So this is a woman who is a veteran. I think she said she was in the Army, and she dyes fiber down in Delaware, which is where my mom lives. I know Delaware is like the teeniest, tiniest state, so they're not too far from each other theoretically. But I got this cool speckled orange skein and a little pink mini. I'll tell you in 1 second. 1 second there. Hold that thought. They also, after I paid, gave me a little bag of Skittles, which I love Skittles, and a business card with a couple stitch markers on it. So that was super cute. So back to that thought. I love buying mini skeins. I almost bought a couple mini skein packs while I was there. And my friend Susie was like, do you actually use them or do you just look at them? He said, I have used them in the past. But I actually really like them for like contrast heels, cuffs, and toes on socks and whatnot. And I use my leftover yarns for that too. But I really like buying minis from vendors at events because I can't buy a skein of yarn from everyone. That's a lot of yarn and that will hurt my stash down. But also that's a lot of money that I just don't want to be spending. But I can totally justify buying a mini from every dyer I see. And if I had been a little more with it mentally yesterday to have thought about it, I would have gotten some from other dyers. I did want to get one from Molly Girl Yarns, but I forgot to go back to her booth and get it. So I did miss that one. And some of the other dyers, they only had like minis as samples. This woman, I don't know if this was true for all of her minis, but she said that what she does is she throws the mini skeins into her pots to clear out any excess dye when she's done dyeing so that no dye is wasted. And I love that idea. I've done that, not with minis so much, have I? I don't even remember. But I've done that before with like yarn too, because when I dye yarn, I'm just kind of like winging it. No calculations. I just throw shit in a pot and whatever comes out, comes out. So there's definitely leftover dye sometimes that I have to clear out. Another booth that we made a purchase at was Katrinkles. I love seeing Katrinkles things. I really was hoping she'd have some advent button sets with her, but she didn't. And that's fine. I'll just order those online for Benji's sock advent set. But I'll have to get those really quick. So what I did wind up buying there is these little wooden cards. I don't know if this... They are the toddler sock size chart, kid sock size chart, and women's sock size chart. So I felt like I could use these for the kids' socks. We are not quite to kid sock sizes. Jax might be just about there. So I figured this will be a little easier to work on the kids' socks, which I haven't done in a long time. I haven't made them socks, but it has the US and European shoe sizes, the foot length in inches and centimeters, and the sock length in inches and centimeters. So I thought those would be the most useful. We have a guest now. There is a big kids size chart and a men's size chart also, but I didn't think I would need those as much because my kids aren't in the big kid sizes yet. And for men's, I didn't really need that for anyone because the only men that I knit for are family, and I already have their foot measurements. I got the women's one, even though I don't know if I'll really need it, but mostly for adult ed class patterns that are coming up. So that way I can kind of have good measurements ahead of time for working on those booties, and also if my class decides to do socks this semester. The last thing I bought at Vogue was from Seismic Yarn. Oh, actually no, the very first thing I bought I totally forgot about. This is the water bottle I brought with me there, and I bought this sticker. I can totally knit that, or I can totally make that from a fiber booth I don't even know the name of. I also randomly found a DPN on the ground yesterday, so if anyone knows someone that lost a DPN at Vogue, let me know, because I might have it. I thought it was my friend's because she was knitting with the same looking needles, but it wasn't the right size, so I grabbed somebody's needle off the floor. The last thing that I bought was a skein from Seismic Yarns. I have heard talk about them, but I had never seen their yarn before, and it was so cool under blacklight. And the lady in the booth who dyes the yarn was the sweetest. She had her husband there working. She said she couldn't stop singing his praises. She said she wouldn't come without him, because we were trying to convince her to come next year. She wasn't sure about his vacation days. She wasn't sure about his vacation days, if he would be able to make it. But her kids were there. Her daughter was working the register. Her son was handling the money. They were fantastic. I loved it. I got a Seismic Yarn, a sticker that I put right on my water bottle, free with purchase. And I bought this one for this water bottle. It's a little hard to see. Got my chem knits down here. This one doesn't have as many stickers. This is my water only, and the other bottle is my electrolyte water bottle. So this one usually stays at home. The electrolyte bottle usually comes out and about with me, which is why it has more stickers. But I hemmed and hawed over buying this skein because, again, I told you guys before, Kyle can't wear sock yarn that doesn't have nylon in it, and this doesn't have nylon in it. So my thoughts were, she had a code yesterday that was good until 5 o'clock yesterday for free shipping. So basically anyone at Vogue, if she didn't have what you wanted, you could have ordered it and she would dye it and send it to you for free. Not for free, obviously, free shipping. So I thought about buying this on her other base. This is the Seismic Butter Fingering base. So it's just 100% superwash extra fine merino. And the colorway is Yellowstone. So it has really cool purple speckles, but it doesn't have nylon in it. And what I decided to do is I will just use contrast heels, cuffs, and toes for this pair of socks because I really like the yarn, and then that way I didn't have to remember to order before the free shipping ended and deal with all of that. I figured I'll just get it. But her colors were so cool. She had the best samples in her booth. That was a really great booth and really great people. So I really enjoyed that booth. I have two other non-yarny acquisitions this week. One is this cute llama mug. I know I said last week, I don't need more mugs. I have no business getting more mugs. But I did not buy this one. It was being given away on the local Buy Nothing group for my town. And I was like, well, I have to get that one. It's really cute. It says Cup of Happy on the inside. And the only reason I didn't use it today is because I hadn't washed it yet. So I will be using this probably tomorrow for my coffee. But I'm loving this new mug. Don't let me get any more mugs, guys. And the only other thing I got this week or past 2 weeks was I got one of those 3-tiered carts that everyone has for their crafting areas. I didn't get it for crafting supplies. I actually got it for homeschooling supplies, but I figured I'm going to share this feedback because a lot of people are buying these carts wherever they get them. I've seen them recommended from places like IKEA and Target, and now Michael's has them. I bet you some of the other craft stores do too. I just happened to see it at Michael's. I wanted it for homeschooling supplies because we're basically storing everything either in one cube of a cube shelf in the boys' room, which is the stuff that we don't really use a lot, and then one cube of a cube shelf in the living room in a basket, and it was exploding. And I was having to keep like the pencil cases in the kitchen and books in there and library books. It was just, everything was all over the place. So this way, I got a lot of it into the cart, which is great because the cart can roll around. I wound up buying like the wood top lid for it, but I don't love the quality of it. So the Michaels one is about, if I remember correctly, it was about $30 or so, maybe $35, and the topper was like $13. It's wiggly. Like the camera is on it right now. So it's great for that because it gives me a little more height than my other stools did, but it's wiggly. So I have to keep tightening it every couple of days. It's just like poles, things screwed into each other, and they're not very stable. It has a very low weight limit. I think it said 5 pounds per shelf. And when you're doing it for school supplies, a lot of those school supplies are books and textbooks. By textbooks, I mean like kids' textbooks. These are like the teacher manuals, so it's actually a paperback. It's not hardcover. So it's not as heavy, but it's still heavy. It's still a really big fat book. So it's not good if you want to put something heavy on it. I know people use them for like their Cricut machines. I don't know how heavy those machines are or not. And they store their vinyl on the bottom. Again, I don't know how heavy that stuff is. But I'd be cautious. It would be good for yarn and probably like your knitting needles, but I wouldn't put anything too heavy in it if you decide to get one of these. It is very convenient. It does roll pretty nicely. But yeah, I guess for the price I paid, I can't expect it to be great. I've never used the IKEA one. That was like the original that everybody loved. I'll have to check that one out and see what it's like the next time I go to IKEA, which will probably be soon because there's a couple things I need. And we have a broken dresser drawer that needs some replacement parts, I think. But yeah, I really love having it. Michael's has an array of colors, tons of colors. I think IKEA's comes in like 3 colors. I don't know about the one at Target, but Michael's has so many colors. I got the peacock one, of course, because like it's like a little more bluish than this color. So, but yeah, we have a bunch of our supplies in it. But the cart it's good if you just want to have like your knitting projects on it or crochet projects on it or cross stitch projects on it or something like that. Something small and you want to wheel it out of the way. So stash down. Yeah, you just heard everything I bought yesterday. So my stash down's not going so good. I just went up probably around 320 to 350 grams of yarn. And I didn't finish anything, technically. I finished that one booty, but that's not 2 booties. It needs to be 2 booties to be done. I finished the leg warmers, but didn't finish them. So, excuse me. So, I've got some work to do. So, I have not stashed down at all. I've only stashed up. But I wanted to give a little update. So, we have currently, including myself, 11 people working towards stash down on the tracking sheet. There are a couple other people that are doing stash down, but they did not want to be on the tracking sheet. They did not want to have their information out there, and that is perfectly fine. If you want to just have access to the tracker, I could just send that to you. You don't have to be part of the competition-y sort of side, work together side. I don't know what to call it. So I am only adding grams to this number, but somehow we are in the negative 3,600 grams. So between the 11 of us, really it's just 2 of us who are helping to reduce our numbers here. Thank you, Sunny and Chrissy, for working through some of your stash better than the rest of us. But they have worked through a lot of their stash and they are helping bring our numbers down. So we are down through 3,600 grams of yarn out of our stashes. So yay, you guys, keep it going. Rub off on me now, please. Also, don't forget that if you are open to accepting some new stash, go back to episode 1 and make sure you listen for the prompt and enter the giveaway so you can win those 2 skeins and the stitch markers if I ever figure out where I put them. I had stitch markers that I made. We'll have to find those so I can give those away too. I'm going to draw that whenever I record the first March episode of the podcast. So basically get your entry in before the end of February or take your chances and get it in right at the beginning of March before I pull the winner's name. And check back on the podcast. That first episode after March has begun will be where I announce the winner. So our life has been fairly typical around here. Nothing too interesting happening. We had this past Saturday was the Pinewood Derby for Jax's Boy Scouts. It was his first time competing because he came in 4th out of 4 every time that he ran. They run a track of 4 cars and it's just mixed up. It doesn't matter who's where, but it is every car runs each of the 4 lanes once. So they run against different people every time, but Jax always came in last because I didn't know what I was doing. And I was not going to go crazy with it like some parents. I think that it should be the kids that decide what to do. Jax wanted his to look like a shark, so it was going to look like a shark, not an aerodynamic shark. He contributed to it by deciding he wanted it to look like a shark, helping me sand it, and painting it. I'm not worried about him trying to win. All right. And as a 5-year-old, he wasn't going to win. They go by the whole group from, he's a lion, tigers, bears. Is it really lions, tigers, bears? I don't know. If it is, that's really funny. I know there's weeblos. The whole group competes against all of them. It's not like the fastest of the lions wins a trophy. The fastest of the tigers wins a trophy. It's not. So there was no chance he was going to win. So I was not going to go crazy about it. It doesn't matter. He had fun with it. He learned how to use sandpaper. It was great. The end. I had my adult ed knitters at Panera the other night. And they informed me, because the school district never does, that the class was posted and when the signups are, which I think is on the 14th, if I remember correctly. They were all setting their alarms to sign up and register. They wanted to get first dibs in the class, but they didn't list the class the way I asked them to list the class. I wanted it to be people who knew how to knit already, not beginners, so that we could do beginners in the fall and then a step up from that in the spring, and they didn't list it that way. So I don't know what kind of class I'm going to be teaching this year. We will see when it starts, I guess. The other things that are going on is that coming up in March, I mean, technically it's already started, but I don't have the bandwidth right now. I'll probably focus on it more at the end of the month into March. But coming up in March is I am participating in 2 knitting-related fundraisers. The first one is Laura Nelkin's Knit-a-thon. This is the 3rd year she is running it. I did it the first year. I didn't do it the 2nd year because the day it was being held, I wasn't going to have childcare. And I could have probably still participated and done fundraising, but I was just not in a space to be doing that last year. So I will be raising money for those 4 charities that Laura has picked. And it actually happens to be occurring on my birthday this year, which I found out is also Laura's birthday. But I'm very excited for that. So that will be a fun day in March, at the end of March. And also in March, I'm doing a fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Hospital, I think is how you call it, right? It's not just St. Jude's Hospital, Children's Hospital. There's been a lot of confusion with this. People think that they're signing up to do knitting to donate, but it's actually a fundraiser. So they're encouraging people to knit and have people like sponsor your knitting or just donate money while you're knitting. They left it very open-ended, but people all seem to think that St. Jude's was trying to collect. And St. Jude's does not want handmade objects of any kind from any craft. They just can't take that in with the children in their hospital population. All right, Benji, we are almost done. Benji, say hi.
Hi.
Say, I'm Benji.
I'm Benji.
Oh, yay. Let's do our loves of the week. What do you love this week?
Presents.
You love presents?
Yeah.
That's cool, because you didn't get any presents this week, did you? Did you get a present?
Yeah. I want a dinosaur.
Oh, you got a dinosaur truck or dinosaur car from Grandpa?
Yeah.
I hope you said thank you.
No, a dinosaur trolley.
A dinosaur trolley? That's
Yeah.
what happened when I was gone yesterday. Grandpa took them to the store and bought them toys. So, my loves of the week, let's see. My first love of the week is Liquid IV. It is an electrolyte powder that you add to your water so that you don't get dehydrated like I do. I have this fun long COVID symptom that I thought it was heat exhaustion originally. But now I'm wondering if it's some sort of fatigue or dehydration because I had heat exhaustion or whatever it is twice last week. It is February. Twice. So once was yesterday at Vogue Knitting Live. I kind of anticipated that. I drank 2 of these bottles of water with electrolyte powder in it. And then some. And I still got a headache at the end of the day and had to lay down when I got home. It's very dry in the Marriott Marquis whenever we have this event. I knew to expect it. I've dealt with it before. But yeah. Then also on Thursday I got heat exhaustion because the library was too hot. And I really was not anticipating that one. I had to lay down for 3 hours at bedtime with the kids because I thought I was going to vomit because I was feeling so sick.
about accessibility